Today I'm going to be doing a beginner's makeup tutorial for eyeshadow. I've gotten a few requests since starting my channel for something very simple, something for beginners, because a lot of people have a lot of products and makeup, but they're not really sure maybe how they should be applying them, what is going to be the best look for them, which really is a lot of your personal preference. But I will just do a very brief tutorial to show you how to actually use eyeshadow and how to make it look flattering on yourself. A lot of this comes with experience and practice, so I definitely encourage you to experiment. You know, once you have the basics down, to kind of branch out. This will be very basic for you. We'll be using the Too Faced chocolate bar palette, which if you do not have this is a great palette just for some very everyday colors, except for maybe this little blue one over here, but the blue is actually really pretty, but also it smells like chocolate, so I love using this palette. So we are actually going to only use 4 colors out of this, and that will be our whole look. And we are also going to be using just some basic brushes. I had to narrow it down of exactly what I wanted to use. So if you want to see how to get a very basic eyeshadow look, keep on watching. So the first thing that we're going to do is I'm going to prime my eyelids. Now there's a few different ways that you can actually do priming. Now this is again a personal preference. I choose to prime my eyes because I find that it gives a good base for your eyeshadows. It helps make the color a little bit more vibrant. You can either use a concealer, any concealer that you have, or there's also products such as this one, the Too Faced Shadow Insurance. You can use either or. I will just use the concealer today just so you can see how easy it is with the products that you may already have, because you don't have to go out and buy a brand new palette or anything to achieve this look. You can actually use the products that you already have. So we will just put this right on the eyelid, and I will only work one eye at a time just so you can get a good feel of what you should be doing. And I'm just going to take my finger and I'm going to dab this all around and blend it in. And I'm going to blend this from your eyelid all the way up to underneath the eyebrow and the brow bone. Okay. Now what you want to do is, any fluffy brush will do, you want to make sure that you actually set this with a light color. I'm just going to use the color Nougat right here from the palette, just as an all-over base color. I'm choosing one that's close to my skin color, and we're just gonna dust this all over. It doesn't have to be neat, because again, this is just setting down that primer. What this is going to do, this is going to help you to be able to blend your eyeshadows, because if you go in and put your eyeshadows directly on that primer, blending them is going to be a problem, because if it's still a little tacky, it's gonna actually stick. So you're not gonna be able to get a really good blended out look. So we're just making sure that we have this. Okay, so we're zoomed in so you can see I've finished priming this eye. So you can see that there is a bit of a difference between the two. This is our primed eye and this is the unprimed eye. So what we're going to do now, and this is with any palette that you have, and you just want to pick some complementary colors to each other. I am going to go in again using just this palette only. The first thing that we're going to want to do is put an all over color, and for that all over color I am going to pick this one right here, this mousse color. It's like a lighter brown, and you're going to want to choose a fluffy brush to do this, and I'm going to be using a Morphe E23, which looks just like that. And we're just going to dip into this. Now to place this color mousse onto the eye, I'm using a very light hand, and if you can see, actually you probably can't, I'm holding the brush towards the end. If you do that, it's going to actually help you get more of an airbrushed look versus holding it really close, which you tend to put more pressure. So if you hold the brush back a little bit like this, it's going to give you a more airbrushed look, and you're just going to be buffing this in. And I'm not bringing this down onto the eyelid part right here. I'm going to leave that blank because we're going to put a different color there. This is basically called our transition color, and this color is going to be the basis for the entire eye look. And again, just very lightly buffing back and forth, and then I also go in little circles just to try to get all of the hard edges off. And then once you're good with that, now I do have a mirror in front of me, and I find that it's easier if I put the mirror and kind of tilt it so I have to put my head back. That way I can see my entire eyelid and I'm not looking directly into it. So I have my eye back and I'm putting on the eyeshadow like this. That way I can see exactly what it looks like without looking, because I have hooded eyes. So it's going to look a little bit different for those of us that have hooded eyes versus those of us that don't. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a smaller buffing or a blending brush, and this is the Morphe M433. And now I'm going to dip into a little bit of a darker color, and I'm going to be using Truffled, which is this one right here. And I'm going to use this very sparingly on my brush. And I only put this much product, so it's only on half of the brush. So I have a clean side and the side with product. What this is going to do, we're going to put this right into our crease area, which is right here. Now, since I have hooded eyes, I turn the brush up because I'm going to want most of the product to be a little bit above where my natural crease is, which would be right in here. But if I only put it there, you're not going to be able to see it because of my hooded eyes. So I turn the brush upwards, and then I'm going to stick it right here. And I'm just going to start in the outer corner and start dragging that product in. And this is, again, very light, just back and forth motions. Now, once I've used most of the product, I will flip the brush over to make sure that I get the color payoff on the bottom as well. And you just do this until you get the desired look. Now, this still might be a little dark if you're just beginning to wear makeup or you're unsure. So you do not have to put on the amount of pigment. You can actually stop just when you have a touch of color, or you could even use a different color. I'm just using this so you're able to see where I'm placing the product. So once that is on, I'm gonna go back with the original brush that we used, that E23, with no additional product. And I'm just gonna go right over the edges. And again, you wanna hold it on towards the end to give you more of that buffed out and airbrushed look, so it's a gradient effect. All right, so now we have the transition color and also the crease color down. And if you look, you can see where the transition color is up here. It's that lighter color where it blends to nothing. And then right here is our crease color. And you can see that my eyelid is still blank because we are going to go in now with one of the shimmers from this palette. And we are going to use this one right here. It's caramel. We're going to use that. Or no, actually, we're going to use the color Bonbon that's right next to it. We're going to use this one. Now, to dip into this, I'm going to be using a flat shader brush, and this one, again, is from Morphe. It is the E32, and it is just a stiff shader brush. It looks like this from the side, and you can see that there's not a lot of give in this brush. And you do that because you're going to pick up this color, which I'm going to dip into Bonbon now, and I'm just doing this on one side of the brush. And I'm going to still lean my head back. Now, you don't want to wipe. The reason you don't want to just wipe this on is because it will all fall, and my face makeup is already done. So you want to try to be careful. While you're learning, I would suggest do your eyes first and then maybe your face makeup, so you don't forget, or if you do forget, it's not going to cause you to have to redo your entire foundation. So I'm going to take this, and I'm keeping this low only on the eyelid. and I'm just patting this on. Now I know a lot of people say, oh, well, you know, I'm a little older and I shouldn't be wearing shimmer shadows. Well, I disagree with that because I think it depends on how you're using them. Do you want to do a shimmer shadow on your eyelid and the upper eyelid and towards your brow bone? No, you don't want to do that. You want to use it down here. It's kind of like a highlighting piece. So no matter what your age, you can still wear the shimmer eyeshadows, and you can do several different variations of this eye. You can do it just as maybe like a halo eye right in the center. But don't let age keep you from doing different looks that you'd like to experiment with. The worst that happens is you don't like it and you wipe it off. It's not that big of a deal. So once we have that color packed on there, and I did not wet my brush, which normally I would. And to wet the brush, you can use a setting spray, you can use Max Fix Plus. If you don't have any of those, you can also use Visine to wet your brush and dip into your makeup. It won't harm your eyeshadow, and you actually pack that right on. So this is the look that we have right now. Now, again, I'm going to go back in with one of our previously used brushes, and I'm going to use the brush that we used for our crease, the Morphe M433, with no additional product. It has a little bit left on it, but that's okay. And I'm just going to blend out where the shimmer and the darker crease color meet. So we have more of a gradient effect. Now, the only thing that's left would be our brow bone and our inner corner highlight. Because I said I was only going to use 3 brushes this tutorial, I will take the shader brush, and I always have a towel or a wipe handy. I am just wiping that off because I'm going to still use the same shader brush. I'm doing this so that those of you that do not have maybe 40 different types of brushes can understand which ones you can use to get the application, because your brushes are a really important part of the application process of your makeup. If you're not using the right brushes, you're gonna have a little bit more difficulty achieving the look that you're desiring to get. So for my brow bone highlight, which is right up here, I am going to use the lightest in this, which is this coconut cream. Now I'm not going to take it and go from this part all the way over. I'm going to start right here where the arch of your eyebrow is. And again, I'm going to pat it. What this does is this kind of gives your eyebrows an instant lift. It gives the illusion that your eyebrows are bigger or higher up, so it makes your eyes look wider. It makes you look a little more awake. And I'm also going to put this in my inner corner right here as a highlight. And it kind of blends everything together, because this can tend to get a little bit of a darker area, or just skin pigmentation. So I am using that as a highlight. Now I will go back in, just because it's me, I'm going to use one of the other brushes that we used, and I'm just going to blend that white down into that transition color so we don't have harsh lines. All right, so I went ahead and I finished my second eye off camera. This is the completed look. If you want to leave it this way, that's fine. It's ready to go. If you want to do anything, eyeliner or mascara or lashes, that's fine. I am going to take one of the colors from the same chocolate palette, and I am going to do right underneath the eye, just to give it a little something extra. I like to kind of balance and make sure that I have something on the bottom as well as just on the top. But again, this is completely optional. I'm going to dip back into the color Mousse in this palette, and I'm just using this on a fluffy brush, on one of the brushes that we used, because I'm trying to keep it to my 3 brushes. And I am going to just dust this right underneath my eye. Now, this does take a little while to get used to, because especially if you have sensitive eyes, but this kind of just gives it a little bit more of a balanced look. So make sure, because I forgot to. The first time that you tap your brush off, don't blow on it, because whatever you have in your mouth, if you blow onto the brush, then you put it near your eye. It's just not sanitary, so make sure you don't do that. What is wrong with this brush? Okay, so back onto the mousse and just right underneath. And it's also easier if you have a smaller brush, if when you first start this, maybe like a very fine detail brush. So that's something that you may want to invest in. You can pick up brushes at Target, Walmart, any of your local pharmacy stores. I order most of mine from Morphe, which they're very affordable online, and I will link all the brushes down below so you can find those links. But I like how it kind of ties the top and the bottom together. And the final thing I'm going to do is go in with some mascara, and I'm just using a drugstore Maybelline Colossal Volume. And another thing that we tend to do when we're first starting makeup is everybody tends to do this to get product. What that does is you're actually pushing air down into the portion where your product is, and that air causes your product to dry out a lot faster. So I would encourage you to maybe swirl around like this and then pull the wand out rather than pumping that air down into that. Now to apply mascara, I normally tilt my head back. This keeps us from getting any mascara up on your eyeshadow. If you do, it's not a problem, you can get it off. But I go over my eyelashes just very quickly. I start at the root and I kind of shimmy it to the ends like this. And by leaning my head back, I can get closer to the roots without poking myself in the eye, which is always a plus. And you can see by me kind of giving my head that tilt back and doing it this way, I did not get any on to my lids, so then I don't have any cleanup. If you do get a drop of mascara up top or even on the bottom, because it's inevitable that you always want to sneeze right after you've done mascara, let it dry completely. Don't try to wipe it off immediately, otherwise it's going to smudge. And once it dries, just take a Q-tip and just kind of brush at it, and it will actually flake off completely, so you don't have to ruin your makeup. And I will do my bottom lashes. This is completely optional. You don't have to do bottom lashes. I like to. I think it just kind of ties everything together. Now I did get a little bit of mascara underneath on this side, so I will just wait and let that dry, and then I will go in to clean it off. All right, so to clean up my bottom lash line, I'm just taking a dry Q-tip, and I'm just gonna go right underneath my eyelashes. And I normally just do this. And it comes off, and it also does help with separating the bottom lashes if they got maybe a little too clumpy from the mascara, which does tend to happen sometimes, especially if you're using a mascara with a larger wand like I was doing. So just some quick cleanup, and that is it. The key to making sure that your eyeshadow goes on really well is to make sure that you take your time and that you're blending out edges so it doesn't look like you have 1, 2, 3 stacked colors, or 4 or 5, however many colors. The key is really to get in there, blend the colors so it is a seamless look. Just take your time and using the right brushes. I will leave all of my brushes that I used in this down below. So I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial on beginning eyeshadow, or even if you've been using eyeshadow for a long time but you're not really quite sure if you've been applying it correctly. Again, this is just my personal preference of how I apply mine. Feel free to be creative, do your own thing, use different colors. Don't be afraid to step outside of the traditional browns and the nude colors. Use blues, use greens. It really kind of gives you a different perspective on what makeup's going to look like on you, and you may find a look that you really enjoy. If you recreate this, feel free to tag me on social media. I'd love to see your work. I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial on eyeshadow, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one.